and we spoke about what is understood by the word fiqh. We spoke about what is meant by the word tahawulat, and we spoke about what is the pillars of this knowledge, and then about Hadith Jibril. Mm. And so we know what are the principles of this knowledge. The principles, what are the principles of this knowledge that the beginner to this knowledge that they should take. And we mentioned 10 different principles or different qawaid, the 10 different principles that we should know about this knowledge. Mm. Right. So now today we want to enter into matters or issues that has happened in our zaman. And there are many hadiths that speak about our zaman. Many hadiths. So we want to actually enter into what is going on right now. Mm. Right. So, for example, the hadith of the woman who is clothed and naked. Is this something that we see manifest in our zaman? Yes, we have seen it. We have seen it. And Rasulullah SAW, he spoke about our time exactly. And then, we want to enter into, how all of this, how all of these matters, like this hadith that Rasul spoke about, these predictions or these prophecies, all of it, it comes, and the problem of it comes, right, from an issue in Aqidah, from Aqidah, from Aqidah, and from knowledge, from ilm. So, for example, in not honoring the rights of the neighbor, or not honoring the rights of family, right? So this is something that's happening around us. Right? So it goes into the first rukun, the first pillar of the science of the end times, which is there will be a deficiency, a problem, right? Corruption in knowledge and belief, and aqidah, and knowledge and belief. Mm, mm. Mm. And then we spoke also about this knowledge, whereby someone asked a question of this knowledge, that it requires a lot of research, a lot of like, knowing of the hadith and so on, right? And so yes, it is true, and it requires a lot of research, right? But it has been done by our scholars, and Habib Abu Bakr, he has done a lot of this research. So it's for us to read, to read and to know, and to study, like what he has done in his research, and put together. So you must know, as the general public, what will happen, in the future with regards to tribulations and calamities, and what are the solutions that Rasul has given us, in going through this calamities, and what will happen with, when the Dajjal comes, and the Masih Dajjal, when the Dajjal comes, what will happen in these situations. And so how do we find our way through, and so how is the protection around this, how is the fortress, with regards to these things, and so this is important for everyone to understand, and not just for the scholars, but for the common person. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open up for us this knowledge, inshallah. So before we come into today's lesson, inshallah, we want to just mention that we are taking from the book An-Nubdh Sughra, which is a concise article, and this book, it consists like a summary, of its entire knowledge, of Tahawul. There are 25 lessons in this book. And we can't take the entire book in a short daura, but maybe we'll take, just a few lessons, and this will be something like keys, right, to opening up this knowledge for all of you. And we want to enter into what is matla' Qur'ani and matla' Nabawi, right? And so, uh, right. So when we say matla' Qur'ani, that means it's a Quranic starting point. Right? A Quranic starting point. If you have the English text, you can go into the first part of the book that mentions the Quranic starting point. Mm. And so Habib Abu Bakr, he has extracted from the verses of the Quran, what speaks about the matter. Right? And then we have Matla' an-Nabawiyah, right? And that is the prophetic starting point. So Habib Abu Bakr, he usually will quote a hadith, from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that speaks about this matter, and that speaks about this matter. Mm. As Naam, as Rasulullah has said, you will it will afflict my ummah at the end of times, a severe calamity, severe calamity. So then he will mention, right, that and then Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentions, right, there will be like who will be saved, right, from this calamity at the end of times, who will be saved. Right, so then have Abu Bakr Adina, so he goes into the Quranic starting point, the Hadith starting point, right, and then he goes into a muqaddimah. A muqaddimah, it is that you see the forward, and the forward is the most important part of the book. Because the forward, the writer, he gives us, a view into, into why he's writing this book. So the secret of the book lies in the forward. Any book, the secret of the book lies in the forward, where the author, expresses himself and tells you why he is writing this book. And then how Abu Bakr, right, after going through the forward, the he goes into the hadith of Jibril, and that is the foundation, of this fourth pillar of Islam, right, knowledge of the end of times. Right, and so when we speak about hadith Jibril, right, hadith Jibril, it consists, of four questions, right, from Sayyidina Jibril. So and Habib Abu Bakr, he encourages us that when we read, hadith and Quran, right, to look at these verses, or look at this text, with deep understanding, to look into it deeply, right? Because especially with regards to text to do with the future, you have to really decipher, you have to really, like break the code as to what is being spoken about, in this hadith and in this, Quranic verses. As we know that Rasulullah, he was given Jawami al-Kalim. He was given concise, precise speech that has a world of meaning in there, right? Which is why it is important for us to be able to look deeply into the words of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So you see that in this hadith of Jibril, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he spoke about four matters, and they were connected one to another. Mm. So the one, and we know it's a very important hadith, because the one who asked Rasul these questions was Sayyidina Jibril. It just any regular human being was asking the questions, like in other hadiths, it was like regular human beings with Sahaba, Bedouins that would come to Rasul and ask questions. But in this situation, it was not a regular human being, but it was Jibril. And meaning it was the entire situation, was Allah sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah sent Jibril, right, to ask the questions. Mm, right, and also to pay attention, who is the one who narrated this hadith? It was Sayyidina Umar. Sayyidina Umar is someone who is very, very precise and very accurate as to his description, and his narration of what he saw. Mm. But when Sayyidina Jibril, came, and even Sayyidina Umar had no idea who is this person who had come, because Sayyidina Umar, he usually knows everybody. Right? And usually he can even tell from which a qabila, from which tribe they're from, but he couldn't tell at all. Today we are analyzing this hadith, right? So the beginning of the hadith in Umar, and his choice of words is so very important. He said إِذْ طَلَعَ. He said once we were stood around Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If somebody has the hadith, you can share the hadith from the book. Someone has the English book, you can share it also. Um, right. So Sayyidina Umar, he said that we were sitting around Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam one day, right? When, إِذْ طَلَعَ, right? طَلَعَ meaning he appeared. Right? So Sayyidina Umar, he's very specific in his word choice. Right? So he said إِذْطَلَعَ. إِذْطَلَعَ, that means that he didn't see the men come in. No one saw the men come in. No one saw the men come in. And Sayyidina Umar, he was very precise in his description, that he said that, that his hair was very black, his clothes were very white. So Sayyidina Umar mentioned all of these things because these were very strange things. That in the desert, right, when somebody who was when somebody who was a stranger came to the masjid of Rasulullah from the desert, right, there will be traces of travel on this person. So Sayyidina Umar, he specifically mentioned there was something very strange about this person who appeared that day, right? That he had no traces of travel, and no one knew who he was. Mm, mm. Right, so it is for us to It's for us. This is what Habib Abu Bakr said, that the source of this knowledge at the end of times, it is umqun nadar. Umqun nadar means to look deep into the Hadith Jibril. Right. So you see, so who is the one who came and spoke to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? What were the questions that he brought? What did this happen? When did this happen? So Habib Abu Bakr, he looked into this matter. Right, this hadith happened close to the end of the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? And he's and the questioner is Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, right? Of course, the questioner, he knows the answer to this matters that he is asking about. He's talking about Islam, Iman, Ihsan, and Rasulullah answered. So eventually Sayyidina Jibreel asked the question, "Tell me about the hour." So it is all in the same tone of the hadith, same tone, right? Mm. So when the question came from Sayyidina Jibril, when is the hour? It is to inform us. We are not learning the science of the hour for us to figure out when it's going to be, because the answer from Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, was very clear that the one who is being asked is does not know the one asking. Clear, crystal clear answer, right? So it's not for you to figure out, which Friday is going to happen, when it's going to happen, is it going to happen this year, 2000 and what? No, you're not supposed to figure out. You're supposed to guess or predict when it's going to happen. Mm. So Rastam has placed a principle, that we are not studying this knowledge to figure out when things will happen. It's not why we're learning this knowledge, but we're learning this knowledge to know how to protect ourselves when things do happen. So you cannot predict when they will happen, but you know what to do when they actually happen. Mm. Mm. Right. So Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the one who is being asked is not no more than the one who is asking. So then Sayyidina Jibril asked the question, so inform me, about its signs, what the signs of the hour, and akhbirni an amaratiha. Mm. And so he said, right, and you will see a slave girl give birth to her master, and the other sign is that you will see um, that you will see the destitute, barefoot, naked shepherd accompanied in building higher and higher buildings. And so, looking deep into this hadith, you will see that it's all in the same line. All of the four questions that were asked by Sayyidina Jibril. So, at the end of the hadith, when Rasulullah informed Sayyidina Umar, who is the questioner? It was Jibril, and he informed the intentions of Jibril, which was, to teach you the methods of your religion. We realize that the methods of this religion includes all four questions, because that statement came out at the end of the hadith. Right. So we know that what is Islam. There are five rukun. There are five principles or five pillars. For Iman, there are six pillars. And for Ihsan, there are two pillars. Right. And then for the signs of the end of times, there are two pillars. Right. That was mentioned. Right. Two signs were given. And then we mentioned, right, so this Hadith Jibril, and this is something that has established for us that there are four components in our religion. Now, right, so then when we go into موضوع is وحدة موضوعية and وحدة شرعية, right? This is basically, this entire chapter is basically to tell us, right, that it is to tell us that this entire four matters that I will mention in the Hadith of Jibril or Hadith Jibril, they're all of the matters of the religion, all of them, right? So you cannot break one from the rest. So you cannot, isolate the last question from the first three. No, it didn't happen that the fourth question came later. No, it all can happen in one sitting. It was one majlis. It was one situation. So there is no indication that the fourth question is actually separate from the first three, or the fourth question is of a different nature than the first three. They're all of the same nature. They're all pillars of this religion. So that is what is meant by, wahdatul mawdu'iyah. It is one topic. It's all about the matters of the religion. And then now all of us, when we are studying this knowledge, so the next chapter after that is, we speak about what is the role of this knowledge. So we study the knowledge at the end of times, right? And what is the role of this knowledge? Mm. And what is the and so it has two basic roles that this knowledge will play. Two basic roles. The first basic role, right, is that it is to renew the language of da'wah. To renew the language of da'wah. Mm. So when it comes to da'wah, you speak about methods, you speak about hadith and Quran, all of this is da'wah. Right? So the first thing in the matter of Islam, when the first when the first verses came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right, it was all about da'wah. From the beginning of this matter of Islam, it was all about da'wah. Right? But da'wah, the way of da'wah, the language of da'wah changes from zaman to zaman and from time to time. So this knowledge, it renews how we're going to bring this message or this religion to people. Every era after era, zaman after zaman. How are you going to bring this message of Islam to people? Um, mm. Right. So first and foremost, is on the person who is bringing this knowledge. Right. So how should this person be? The one who is bringing this knowledge, and the other one is the method of bringing this message. So with the methodologies, with technology, with words and stories and then with not blaming people, like not slandering people, not going against people in that way, and not calling for bloodshed, not calling for fightings, not calling for violence. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen for this ummah the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Allah has made it clear the role of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the role of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is da'wah, to tell the people about Islam. Mm. Right. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned that inform the people, or relay on my behalf, even if it's one ayah. And relay on my behalf, even if it's one ayah. Mm. So we analyze how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam narrated, or he relayed the message to the humanity from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we learn the method from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we apply it unto our own selves. And so mm, and so so Rasulullah said to his own ummah in the hadith, convey on my behalf, even if it's one verse. And we see from the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that remind the people with a beautiful reminder. Um, and if you have to argue them in the most beautiful way. So not to go around, it's lowering people in their positions. No, but there's the entire meaning of to renew the way of da'wah. So this knowledge actually teaches us what is the correct way of da'wah from time to time, era to era. What is the correct way? What is the correct way of calling people to the truth? Mm, and also when it comes to calling people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there has to be drive. There has to be drive and zeal and aspiration, that you want to bring people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mm. And so you want to say to the people, right, and to bring them close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, by good words, and by good statements, and also by in making sense to the people. Mm. Mm. And also to have like common denominators, with people, knowing how to have, harmony with people. So to have a good wisdom, right, behind calling people to the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. So for example, if I want to speak to anybody, in any for example, if I'm about to speak you want to speak to people at any majlis, for example. So if you're going to a funeral, for example, then choose a good topic, and know what to say that's appropriate at the funeral. If you're going to a wedding and you want to give advice to the people, then prepare a topic that is suitable for the situation or for the occasion. In that situation, so every single time you're meeting people, how you prepare yourself. Like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to say? And you prepare the topic that you prepare what you're gonna say. Mm. Mm. And you mentioned, hadith or Quran that is appropriate to the situation. So basically this knowledge at the end of times, it teaches us how we can understand at the end of times, and how we can protect ourselves from the end of times, or from the fitna of the end of times, and how we can call people to Islam, in this knowledge of the end of times. So for example, if I enter into a group of people, I see the way people are dressed, the way people are, so I know how to speak to them. I know how to speak to them. I look at the way, and I know from which angle to approach the matter, and call them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Um, right. So for example, if I see that or they have a lot of, a respect for science, for example. Okay, I will speak about the miracles of science. Now I'm in the Quran. And for example, if they're amazed, by character or culture, okay, I'll speak about the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in that way, right? And I'll go from that angle. So a person who calls people to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, they must have very deep understanding of society. They need to be able to read society, right? And so they can come to people, in Islam, right? In a proper manner. Now, and so not to enter into politics and not to enter into, right, any form of any matter that would split the ummah, that will cause disunity, amongst the Muslims. No, I don't enter into all these matters, of name calling, or slander and so on. So no. So no. Right, so basically, right, in renewing the language of da'wah to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, right, it is on the one who is calling people to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to rectify themselves, and to be able to understand society deeply and well, right, and then also to be able to use the correct means, right, to call people to Islam. And so this is the first role of this knowledge, right, which is, to renew the language of da'wah to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. With regards to the second role of this knowledge, it is to protect, right, the three thawabit. The thawabit is Islam, which is Sharia, Iman, which is Aqidah, and Ihsan, which is the inner. Now, and the most precious things in a human being, these are called the thawabit. They are the firm matters in this religion. Mm. Right, so Rasulullah has taught us all of these matters, like the five pillars of Islam, the six pillars of Iman, and the two pillars of Ihsan. Right, so the last pillar of the time of the signs of the end of times, is its role is to protect these first three. Mm. Mm. Yeah. So for example, Rasulullah, he has informed us about the pillars of the religion of Islam, right? The pillars of Islam, five pillars of Islam, right? And but you see, and these things are actually not to be changed. But you see now how people have changed the understanding of prayer, the understanding of, that the prayer has no more meaning anymore, or in Iman, right? People are losing their faith and losing their Iman. There is no more akhlaq anymore, there's no inner science anymore. So here we see, the three thawabit and the three firm knowledges, right, they are being attacked, right, in the end of times, right, and so to know the fitna or the tribulations of the end of times, you will know how to protect this first three of Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. Mm. And so when you learn, right, and you understand, right, the methods of the end of times, you understand why are people abandoning the prayer, and why are they abandoning the prayer, why are they changing the prayer, why are they disbelieving, and why are they moving away from Iman. Naam. Mm. And so you see, that that with regards to the media, especially, it is full, of doubt, full of attacks, that is removing people's attachment or connection to the religion. Mm. Yeah. And also and also to continue from this, to understand, with regards to the signs of the end of times, there is entire study, of credible people, of where do we find credibility. So it has happened in our time that people are insulting or criticizing the Sahaba and the great scholars of Islam, and the ulama of Islam. They are insulting, the mufassirun, the tafsir of the Quran. Right. So you see that, people in the zaman right now, right, like they are trying to cast doubts, right, on people who the religion has placed an immunity around. Right. These people are not to be they are not to be insulted, they are not to be criticized, they are not to be run down. So like especially the Sahaba. Right. So for example, a hadith, about the end of times, Rasulullah said that, towards the end of time, the people of the end of times, they will be cursing the people of the earlier times. Um, right, and they will have all kinds of stories about the companions. They will say, oh, this companion is not really a companion, this companion is actually a lead companion, this companion is no, all the companions of Rasulullah, they are protected, and they have immunity to them because they are companions of Rasulullah, and we have no right to speak about them in that way. But there are people in our zaman, they begin to say and say and say and say, about different companions of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And so fiqh tahawulat teaches us that, those who do this, right, or stay away from them, there's danger over there, because our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself has given protection over the names, or over the Sahaba, over his Sahaba. So nobody has the right to say anything about them. Right? So, as Rasulullah has said in the hadith, that this knowledge, right, will be inherited, right, in every generation, right, the most credible of their scholars. So we need to find out who are the credible scholars in every generation who have inherited this religion well and correctly. Mm, right. So the honor of this knowledge, right? So in the hadith, Rasul said that this knowledge is inherited in every generation, generation after generation, right? The most credible of the people of that generation. Now, and what do these credible scholars do? Right? They will remove, right, the distortions of the people who will, they will bring the meanings of hadith and Quran into an extremity. They will bring an extreme meaning, a distortion, to the meanings of Quran and hadith. Right? So taharif meaning to the distortions, right? Al-ghalin meaning those who actually they go to an extreme. So you can actually say, our credible scholars in every zaman, in every era, right? The first role, the first thing is that they will inherit the knowledge of this religion. The first role of the scholars is that they will remove the distortions of extremists, right? They will remove the distortions of extremists. Mm, mm. Right? And so this real credible scholars, they are the ones for us to believe in and trust. And so there will be people out there, who pretend to be scholars, but they are not scholars, but they are extremists. Right? And they will give extreme interpretations. They'll give distorted interpretations, right, to the Quran and Hadith. Mm, mm. So they will take the methods of this religion, and they will use the methods of this religion for their own gain in politics. So a lot of them, like the distortions, is because of politics, or to give victory to their group, right? So there's nothing to do with the truth. It's all to do with politics. And so they bring people astray, and they are astray themselves. Mm. Right? So for every person, right, when they see, in this what was happening right now, right, and they understand fiqh tahawulat, they will understand what is going on, right? What is going on out there when people are bringing wrong ideologies or wrong ideas, right, to this religion. They're distorting the religion. Mm. And so the people of every zaman, there will be the udul. The udul are, so in every generation, there will be the udul, right? There will be the credible scholars. They will carry the matter of his religion. They will remove the distortions of the extremists. They will remove the misinterpretations, of people of fitna, and they will remove the wrong interpretations of those who are ignorant. And this which tells us that all of these three things will happen in the end of times, and they are happening around us. And we have our scholars, our rightly guided scholars, who have told us that all of these interpretations, these distortions, these lies, all wrong in regards to the Quran and the Sunnah, by people who are extremists, people who are ignorant, and people who are corruptors. Mm, mm. Um, Right. Then Habib Abu Bakr, right, he mentioned, the pillars of the end of times. So the two pillars of the end of times, there are two pillars. So and they are derived from the two words from the two statements of Rasulullah. The first one is that you see the slave girl give birth to her master. So the first one, it means that. So what does it mean? What is the first one? What can we interpret on the first one? So the pillar that can be extracted from the first statement of Rasulullah, that you will see the slave girl give birth to her master, is that you will say that it is a prophetic statement. So it is a prophecy. It's a prophecy. Um, right. It is a prophecy, right? In balagha, it is a prophecy in balagha. That meaning that it has a deeper meaning than the superficial words, deeper meaning, and that point two, that there will be a destruction, defects, and corruption, right, in the entire structure of knowledge and of belief. So when you ask yourself the question now, what is knowledge? And what is knowledge? What do I learn from? Like, what do I say about knowledge in our zaman? Right? So is there, no, is there, is knowledge that we're studying in the universities right now? Is it called real knowledge? Are these things real knowledge? So there is knowledge that is of dunya, and there is knowledge of akhirah. There are two types of knowledges. So yes, you can learn the knowledge of the dunya, yes, to benefit from it, in your life, right? But do not abandon the knowledge of the religion, right? Where are people in our zaman with regards to knowledge of the religion? They have replaced studying the religion, right, with studying the dunya. They have replaced it, right? There is a blame there. There's a fault there. So what's happened? They don't know the methods of people can have high PhDs and high masters, and they have be high in the universities. They don't know anything about don't know anything about wudu. They don't know anything about sirah. They don't know anything about medicines. And they have not studied the religion because they spend all their time studying knowledge of the dunya. And that is a flaw. There's a fault. There's a fault there. So they need to have. They need to, and also especially in knowing, the knowledge of ihsan, of character development, of character purification. Where are we in this? Where are we in studying this? So everything. So why is it that all that we study, it is separate from the religion? No, we need to connect it. You study sciences, study geography, you study history, connected to the religion. All knowledges should be connected to the religion, to the Quran, to the Hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Mm. And so it is important that when we teach our children, especially, that we connect the knowledges that we are teaching them, to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. That all true knowledge must be connected back to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, to increase connection to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. But at the same time, there has to be a basis, a foundation of studying, now, of studying the foundations of our du'ain of this religion. Um, right, right. So it is important for the student of knowledge, when they study, right, to study Arabic language, to know the letters of the Arabic language, uh, to know how to write it and to read it, right, and so on. It's all important that you should be studying. But step by step, right? So you know how children are, right? You like start smallly, you start slowly, right? Letters, words, and then sentences, and then you learn higher knowledges, right? But unfortunately this is done with regards to worldly sciences and not done with religious sciences. Mm. So the first sign that is mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ, that you see a slave girl give birth to her master, right? This is actually, like you would say, like a symbol. It's a symbol, of a deeper problem, right? That forms the first pillar of the science and times, which is there will be deficiency, right? Defects. There will be corruption in the system of knowledge and faith and aqidah. Mm. How about say Abu Bakr? Habib Abu Bakr, he said that it's okay for us to study, Islamic knowledge and worldly knowledge. You can study both, right? Not that you can need to remove yourself from Islam, from worldly knowledge. You can take academic knowledge, yes, with Islamic knowledge, yes, but not to deny yourself of Islamic knowledge or to neglect Islamic knowledge. And also the system of aqidah, right? So he said there is a halal, there's a deficiency, and also a corruption in knowledge and in belief system. So look at ourselves today, right? Mm, nice. So look at ourselves today. Right? How many of us treat our parents, in in the same, like, together with our belief in the verse that Allah has said, that believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do not ascribe any partners to him, and be good to your parents, right? Show your parents a perfect, ihsan to your parents. How many of us link our iman, right, to how we treat our parents? Because the Quran does that. The Quran links our iman to how we treat our parents. How many people have the full yaqeen that how you treat your parents, will be what will save you in the day of judgment, or will destroy you in the day of judgment? How many people understand it? Right? So basically, the if people being able to harm or oppress the people around them, is a reflection of a problem in their aqidah, of a problem in their belief system. There's something wrong in their aqidah. So all this we have seen in our society right now. Mm. Right, that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has informed us, right, in everything that has he's informed of all the changes and transformations that will happen, right, in the end of times, especially with regards to the abandonment of parents, right, and that is a sign of a problem in the aqidah, a problem in the belief system, right, of people, because they has allowed for them to abandon their parents. Mm. And then you see, how many times people, like children, raise themselves over their parents, or students raise themselves over their teachers. They have no adab, they have no etiquette. So you see, some countries, right? Some students, they raise themselves over their teachers. They show their rights to their teachers, right? They complain about their teachers, right? They have rudeness towards their parents. They have rudeness towards their teachers. Uh, and so all of this, it goes back to a weakness in belief, a weakness in faith. All of this. Mm, mm. And then we also see, right, that with regards to the world right now that we live in today, right, many places they speak about dates, like dates of the year, right, they will go by Gregorian calendar, right, by the Gregorian calendar, right, by the modern calendar. They won't go by the Hijri calendar. Most places, right, they go by Gregorian. Right. So these are all signs from of the end of times. Rasulullah has informed us about all of these things, right? So he gives, a prophecy, right? With words, right, that carry deeper meanings. So the second pillar that he spoke about, that you will see, the barefoot, naked, destitute shepherd competing in building higher and higher buildings. So what is a deeper principle behind this? So the principle behind this is that there'll be deficiency and defect, right, and corruption, in the systems of government and economy. So you look around, you see, you know, people who are holding positions in the government, holding positions in society, and they are the least qualified, the least rightful. Mm, mm. Now, so when you see from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you see the Khulafa or Rashidin. Okay, that was the perfect, leaders of the Muslims. They were spoken about by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the 30 years of righteous caliphate, righteous leaders. Then after that, they began the destruction, or the khalal. The khalal would be the distortions in government, and whereby after the righteous, khalifas, right, that the power or government began to be passed down from father to son through dynasty, and not through shura, not through consensus of the people of knowledge, of the society. Mm. Right. So then we have, you have dynasties forming, right, in the Islamic Ummah, and that is a khalal, that is a deficiency or defect, right, in the issue of hukum, in the issue of government, right. That is in the past, and now even more defect in the issue of government. Right. And so and then now we look at our Zaman. Many countries claim to be on a democracy. What is a democracy? And what is the concept of democracy? And are they really on these concepts of democracy? Are they? What is the religion stand on this? What do we say with regards to democracy, and how really powerful companies are controlling the governments and controlling policies? And that is why Rasulullah said, about the end of times, right, that the sign of the end of time is that when the matter of government is given to the people who are least rightful for it. They are the least rightful for this matter. Mm. Right. So now we have reached a point whereby the lands of the Muslims, right, or the Muslims themselves, they are being ruled, by the non-Muslims. So almost nowhere in the world today is the law of the Sharia being established. And almost nowhere in the world today, it's gone. It's gone. It's no longer being established. Mm, mm. Right? So it's important for us to, and also on top of that, economy. economy, the worldwide economy, full of riba, full of usury. Right? So, and so Muslims, they are to, try and find ways, to try and clean themselves, of these systems of economy, right? As Rasul said in the hadith, for them, it is better for them to earn things from the hands, from the work of their own hands. Mm, 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 and she's mentioning the story in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, whereby there was a well that belonged to a Jew, right, and that the Jew had charged the Muslims a high payment, right, for the water in the well. And Rasulullah asked who will buy this well for the Muslims, and said, now Uthman, he bought the well for the Muslims, mashallah. Right, and by him buying this well, he received, immunity from Rasulullah. They say now Uthman, he's in the position that nobody can bring down his position. Right, so mashallah. And it also shows Rasulullah trying to get the Muslims to be independent and to be independent of the system that the Jews have put in place. From the time of Rasulullah to the end of times, right, it's always the entire economy, right, is basically, in control of the Jews. The Jews are the ones who are controlling, right, the system of government or the system of economy from before to till all the way to the day of judgment. No, no. Right. So she's giving the deeper meaning of the hadith. So some say that that this shepherds, that they are competing to build higher and higher buildings. So the word building here doesn't have to mean physical building, but it could mean systems, right? So the most and so what is meant by the barefoot, naked, destitute shepherd, right? It means it shows that the least qualified people, right? They are shepherds. What are you doing building buildings? Right? So the people who are forming all these systems, they are the least qualified people because they have no credibility, they have no integrity, right? They have no akhlaq, they have no honesty, right? And so they are the people, and so all of them who are getting involved in government and in economy, and they're the worst of people. They're the worst of people. Mm. Mm, right. So, and some has mentioned also that in the future there'll be so many marketplaces, right? So many marketplaces, but profits will be very little, right? There'll be very little profits for people. Subhanallah. And now you see why, because those who are controlling the markets, right? They take most of the profits and they give to the people the minimum wage, give people the minimum profits, right? And they will like hoard all of the money. So all of this have been predicted by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mm, mm. Right. So we say, so in studying the science of tahawulat, science of end of times, and we look into our society. We look into, society, look into government, into the economy, and how we can free ourselves. How can we not be so dependent, on the system? How can we be separate from the system? It is an unjust and an oppressive system. The exercise of التحولات will bring you there, will bring you a clarity in what and how you're going to maneuver the end of times. Right, and then the next chapter, it speaks about the alamat as-sa'a, right? It speaks about the signs at the end of times, and it is split into three types of signs. There's the minor signs, there is the major middle signs, and the major signs, right? So the minor signs, it began with the coming down of Nabi Adam alayhi salam onto the earth, right, all the way to the blowing of the horn and the day of judgment. So the minor signs is continuous throughout time. The middle signs, it is from the first revelation onto the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, till the death of the second Sufyani, right, and the major signs is from the manifestation of the Mahdi or Dajjal, right, till the blowing of the horn. Mm, mm, mm. Right, and then he goes into the definition of fiqh tahawulat. What is it exactly? Right, it is a study. It's a study in this religion. So it's a study, in the religion, right, of matters that have already been set, already been decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will happen in the Islamic in the society of the Muslims, Islamic society. Mm. right? In the, in the different stages of the life of Muslims, the lives of human beings, and in Muslims specifically, the Ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It is a study, of methods or events, or changes that have already been decreed by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, from pre-eternity, and that will manifest in the lives of human beings, specifically in the Ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Mm. Mm. Now, and so why is the Ummah of Rasulullah specified? Because they're the Ummah that will face this, that is knowledge the most. Now, right. Mm. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Right, as in that, and in that it is mentioned that in the Ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there's Ummah of those who are believers and the disbelievers, and as Rasul said that a group of them will be in paradise and a group of them will be in the blazing fire. Mm. So all of these methods determined and decreed by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Mm. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it clear to us, right, the way, of changes in human society and also in the cosmos, right, towards the end of time, inshallah. Right, so now she said that she gave it like a deeper overview. So last week she gave a very it's general overview, and today she gave something a bit more deeper. Okay, so she asked if you all have any questions. Can you release me from the interpretation? Okay. اوكي تمام. جزاكم الله خير أستاذة. نشوف الأسئلة. The question here, let's see. um السؤال هنا هي سألت يعني يعني من الناس يعني من يشتمون يعني الذرية من سيدنا أبو سفيان، مثلا معاوية. سيدنا معاوية يعني هو صحابي صح؟ سيدنا معاوية وبعده يزيد وبعده، يعني من الناس اللي الشيعة خصوصا، يعني يشتمون ويسبون هؤلاء. يعني هل نحن نبعد أنفسنا يعني أن من تكلم يعني على سيدنا أبو سفيان وسيدنا معاوية؟ كيف يعني سؤال هكذا. تمام. So the answer here is that with regards to, so specifically with regards to Muawiyah. So Muawiyah, because he is a Sahabi. The Sahabi, so we don't enter into insulting him, right? Nor do we say anything about him, right? So he is, so there is no we don't say Sayyid with regards to Muawiyah, you say Muawiyah. He's the companion of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And there was a difference of opinion, and there were differences in him and Sayyidina Hussein and Sayyidina Hassan, right? So we don't say anything was about Muawiyah, but with regards to Yazid, yes, he was of the causes of he's not a Sahaba, he was of the causes of the murder or the assassination of Sayyidina Hussein, right? So Yazid, yes, he was involved with the assassination of Sayyidina Hussein, but Muawiyah, he is a Sahabi. As a Sahabi, we do not speak badly about. Right, so the descendants of Sayyidina Abu Sufyan, if you know of who they are, right, generally do not speak badly about them, right? But those that are companions, be careful. I do not speak badly about the companions. Those what specifically companions. Okay, so she added on. She said that and for us to look at the words of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with regards to your question. So your question, Rasul himself has answered, and he said that that there will be fitna between my companions. So he gave this prophecy. This is basically why we study fiqh tahawulat, to know the answers, right, of what do we say and what do we do with regards to the differences between the companions after the death of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Rasul himself gave us guidance, and he said that there will be a fitna. There will be fitna between my companions. And Allah has forgiven all of them. All of them, all the companions are forgiven because they are companions of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because they are companions of me. It means they are companions of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right, so Sayyidina Aisha in the battle of the camel, Sayyidina Ali, and in the battle of Siffin and so on and so forth. Right, with the companions, all Sayyidina Ali asking the companions to give him bay'ah, because he is the most rightful. of the next caliphate, and then Muawiyah, refusing to do so because he said that that they want to avenge the blood of Osman. So every companion, they acted on their own ijtihad. And they acted on their own judgment with regards to the situation that happened after, especially after the murder or the assassination of Sayyidina Uthman. Right? So they all had their own ijtihad. They all had their own, judgment. And because none of them received revelation, right? So they all had their own judgment as to what is the most correct thing to do. When Sayyidina Ali saw that it is the most correct thing to do to first unite the Ummah, whereas Muawiyah saw that first thing to do is to avenge the blood of Uthman. Right? For example, so they had clashes, right? But Rasul has given them an immunity by saying that they are all forgiven. They are all forgiven because they are my companions. And then he said, and he continued, he said that, but those that came after them are those that came after them, right? They began ways, right? They began ways that were against the ways of the Prophet ﷺ. They began ways, and by these ways, they will enter into the hellfire. And what were the ways that they invented, that they began? And that was to kill, and to kill Muslims. And so those that came after the companions, they were the ones that they killed the grandsons of Rasulullah and so on. So these people, they have no protection over names. And there is no sanctity over the names, right? Because they came after the companions. And some say that they will start ways, amongst themselves, right? He called it sunnah, in a sense, ways. They will start ways amongst themselves that are actually corrupted and wrong. And by these ways, they will enter into the hellfire. And so she mentioned that. نعم. السؤال هنا هي سألت أن فالهدف يعني في التعلم في التحولات، يعني نقدر إن شاء الله أن نراه يعني ما هو حقيقة الأمور والحوادث حوالينا، يعني في الاجتماع وفي في العالم، يعني نراه يعني في العالم. فمثلا هي قالت مثلا إذا نرى إن الآن الموسيقى من أمريكا، والآن يعني السوشيال ميديا مثلا، الاجتماع يعني أونلاين، يعني كل هذه الأشياء يعني الآن يعني يهدم أو يعني يفسد أخلاق يعني والدين يعني شبابنا وأطفالنا، حتى أطفالنا. يعني الآن نرى كل هذه الأشياء. فهي سألت يعني ففي تحولات أن يعطينا الوعي عن هذه الأشياء، أو فهم عن هذه الأشياء. يعني أي شيء يمكن نقبله، وأي شيء يمكن يعني لازم نبعده، يعني من الاجتماع أو من الأسرة. So she said that what you are speaking about is one of the sciences of التحولات, which is to study developments in society. This is one of the five knowledges of التحولات, to study developments in technology, or changes in culture and society. There is an entire knowledge in التحولات about this, right? So rightfully what you said, actually is what I put in, right? It is that, to know what this knowledge of التحولات will teach you, right, what of the developments or changes in technology, in society, in culture, right, that we can embrace, as Muslims, and we should embrace as Muslims, and use them to our advantage. And what of the changes in society and culture, right, that we need to protect ourselves from and our families from, right, for example, right? So this is important for us to understand. Right? This is important for us to understand. Right. So it is Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Right. So it is that for example, with regards to the music industry, right, with regards to technology. So as I was saying, for example, Zoom. Right, for example, Zoom. Right, so we know there can be evil with regards to these platforms, and they can be good. And so what we're using it for is positive. Right. So all of these methods, right, there are positive, elements to them, or aspects to them, and there are negative aspects to them. Right? And Speak Tahawla will give us a clarity as to what positive and what you can gain from in regards to the religion, and what is negative and what will destroy our religion in that way. تمام. السؤال هنا نعم نشوف. أم... هم. يعني هي سألت يعني بالنسبة الاقتصاد. نعم، نعرف يعني في العالم الاقتصاد العالمي يعني في أيدي اليهود، صح؟ في أيدي اليهود. يعني دائما هكذا اليهود هم أمسكوا بالاقتصاد. في أي مكان هم ذهبوا. فسألت هل هذا لأن يعني كما هم قالوا، هؤلاء اليهود قالوا أو زعموا أنهم أناس مختار. يعني الله اختار، الله اختارهم يعني أن يكون أفلح الناس أو لا أدري إيش، يعني في الدنيا، يعني مثلا في الدنيا يعني بالأموال يعني دائما هم يعني أغنى الناس يعني في الدنيا، صح. اليهود، فالله أعطاهم، يعني الله أعطاهم يعني. وأيضا أنهم زعموا أنهم من ذرية الأنبياء، مثلا ذرية نبي إبراهيم ونبي إسحاق ونبي يعقوب، وهم زعموا أنهم من الأنبياء. ولكن أنهم قد ضلوا وأضلوا، وغيروا وحرفوا يعني كتابهم، وأفسدوا الكتاب. ونعرف، لا أدري أي سؤالها. ف... فنعرف أن الذرية من نبي إبراهيم عليه السلام أيضا من نبي إسماعيل الرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، فهم قد أورثوا العلم، من العلم الحقيقي من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، وأنه وليس لهم يعني الوراثة المالية، بس العلمية. فأنا لا أدري أي سؤالها. What's your question? The one who asked this question. The one about Jews controlling the economy. The question is a long question. يعني كان سؤالها hmm. هل يعني الاقتصاد في أيدي اليهود لأنهم أناس مختار؟ كأنه سؤالها هكذا. تمام. So she said that, so basically the question, right, she was saying that, well, with regards to the Jews, and them controlling the economy and so on and so forth, these are things that happen, in history, and there were times where the Jews were brought low, there were times they were brought high. Even the Muslims, there were times where the Muslims were brought low, there were times the Muslims were brought high. Like these are things that happen in society, in creation, in the world, and these are things that you will say, it takes turns, right? It takes turns, so sometimes some society are high, sometimes they are low, right? And it goes around, it goes around. So it's not about, them being a chosen people. It's not about that. In fact, they have lost, right, their position with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that they used to kill the prophets. They used to deny Allah's signs. They would change Allah's books. Right? So they have lost their position. And they have long ago they've lost their position. They have no position right now, and they've incurred the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by changing, like, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and going around the earth in their corruption, and their and the Zionists, meaning the Zionists, right? So when you see the Jews, not only the Jews, but it's the Zionists, right? The Zionists who are the ones who are, guilty of all of these things, right? So she's saying that, but basically, it's not for us to go into this matter, right, and to go so deep into this matter, because any of these are things that will happen, right? But what is important for us to take away, from this understanding, is that as Muslims, we need to be self-sufficient. Right? We need to be self-sufficient in regards to our provision, in regards to our money, in regards to our income. We need to learn how to be self-sufficient, right? And learn how to, and in fact, in regards to food as well, like to learn how to grow your own food, to learn how to, and nowadays it is not hard, right, to actually, be more self-sufficient. Right. So she was mentioning that, so for Muslims, our lessons here, right, is that, have skills, have, like your own small businesses, have, try to be more self-sufficient, and not to be, dependent, right, on these bigger systems in the world, right, that enslave the world, to them, as you can see right now, that's going on, that the world economy is enslaved, right, to Israel in itself, and therefore they can't do anything because they're enslaved, right? So just to be very careful about that. So for the Muslims, they need to start to be more independent. I should say, be more independent with regards to your own provision, mashallah. So it's not about this matter, about them being chosen people, and so on and so forth, because they have lost their position a long time ago. They've lost it a long time ago. Now all of this is their own claims, right? السؤال هنا مم، تمام. كيف يعني نحن في الاجتماع الأكاديمي، يعني في الأكاديمي في سنغافورة مثلا، يعني يسمى، يعني عدم، يعني يقول، يعني في الاجتماع، يعني عدم ظهور الدين، يعني هكذا. ف نعم، العلماني كأنه فنرى يعني في الاجتماع أن أن الشباب يعني كلهم يهتمون بال بالشهادات والدراسات الأكاديمية وهكذا. فكيف نعلمهم أو نقنعهم يعني أن يعني أهم علم هو علم الدين وليس علم الدنيا، لأن في طريقة الشهادات والجامعات ويعني الأكاديمية يعني هم يرون يعني الشغل، يعني الشغل وبعدين ال النقود وبعدين الغناء وهكذا. وأيضا يعني بعضهم يعني هم لا يسمعون إلى النصيحة، وهم يريدون أن هم بس يطلبون الدنيا. لأن هذا اجتماع هكذا، كل الناس في اجتماع يطلبون الدنيا، فكيف يعني نعلمهم عن إن شاء الله. Right, so she said that so basically this entire ideology, right? Because the questionnaire you spoke about it is a culture. The secular environment. It is a culture that has come about from the colonists when they came into our lands, right? And they have spread when they colonized the Asia and came into our lands, right? And they had they had basically changed mindsets of people, right? That what they want, is to pursue a secular education, to pursue a degree, to pursue, the dunyawi knowledge, right? And do it and had, brainwashed people, into thinking that, religion is something that is backward and to be left behind. That is true. That has happened in our societies. That has happened in our, even in our families of those who do not see the importance of religion at all, right? So she said that and so when you try and speak to the youth, they are influenced, right, by just this entire group mentality, of society, that the majority of them have this kind of ideas with regards to secular education, and then they have, like a disdain or looking down on with regards to religious education, right? So and they want to fit in and change the dunya and so on. So she just agree, with where you're coming from, right? And she said that, subhanallah, for us to approach the matter, right, it is from the very beginning, from the very beginning, if you have your young children, from the very beginning, right, to impress upon them the importance of studying the religion. That it is your first and foremost duty as a believer, as a human being, as a Muslim, that the studying of the religion, it is the most important thing in your life, right? That is if they are still young, right? If they're still young, right? So, but because your question is about the youth, right, and they have really grown up on this ideologies and all these mentalities with regards to prioritizing the worldly knowledge and their worldly pursuits, right? So then she said that, to speak to them in a way that will appeal to their intellect, right, in a logical manner. Right, so to speak to them and say that, you're so obsessed, about your job, you're so obsessed about earning, about climbing the corporate ladder, you're so obsessed, getting your degree and your PhD and so on and so forth. You're so obsessed, but you say to the youth, but what then when if you were to pass away? Where will all these things be? Can you bring these things with you in your grave? And the fact of the matter is that we will all pass away, we will all die, and there is no age to death. There is no age. Right? So speak to them in a way that is logical. They can appeal to their intellect, right? And nobody can deny death, and no one can deny death. So to speak to them in that way that when you die, what will go for you, what will be questioned about you, is your prayer, right? Is your fasting, is your good deeds, all of these things that you have to know about, right? How about Ustazah was saying that, look at that even when you speak about prayer, right? Even if they do pray, right, they rush to their prayer, do it very, lazily, they do it half-heartedly. There's no fruit in their prayer. There's no connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. So there has to be, really, like you say, slow talk or talk with a lot of wisdom and appealing to their intellect. Right. That, do something that is, that will benefit you, right? That is forever in your grave, right? And the hereafter that it cannot be denied, that will happen. So you can go in this way. And then Zaza also mentioned that, to make dua, right? To dua and dua and dua after every prayer, and to dua, you ask Allah to make to make you, end of your dhurriyyah, of your offspring, of those who establish the prayer. Those who establish the prayer, right? Meaning those who establish the religion, in society. So make a dua after every prayer for your family, for your children, for the youth of society, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wake them up, right? Inshallah. Okay, we are kind of running out of time. There's a question here. Mm, okay, I don't understand the Malay question. Can someone help me? Sorry. I don't understand the Malay question. السؤال بالملاوية يا أستاذة بس أنا لا أفهم. أستغفر الله العظيم. أنا لا أفهم. أنا أسأل هل هناك أحد يساعدني؟ أم لأن هناك ترجمة يعني بينة هي تترجم باللغة الملاوية، فمعنا يعني الناس من ماليزيا وإندونيسيا، بس الملاوي عندي ضعيف جدا. نعم. Just somebody can help me. What is membentengi? Sorry, I don't know the word. Can someone help me with that word? Do you all see the question that I'm looking at? What is that word? Uh, where did the question go? Wait, I was looking at a question just now. Right. Okay, خلاص. I lost the question. Uh, guard ourselves. Okay, tamam. Protect ourselves. Okay, tamam. Sorry. My English, my Malay is so bad. السؤال هنا يعني هي سألت أن الحماية يعني لأسرتنا، يعني عن التأثير في آخر الزمان من الاجتماع. فسألت يعني كيف، ما هو أول شيء نفعل، يعني أن نحمي أنفسنا وأهلينا، يعني من ضلالة الزمان أو من تأثير الزمان، الشر في الزمان يعني. Allah, mashallah. Right, so of course the first thing first is to study, right? To study and exactly to study fiqh tahawalat. Right? The study of fiqh tahawalat itself is a protection, right? From the ills and of this zaman. And she mentions, of course, there are other, like, more simpler things that we can do, and you should be doing every day, which is reciting the first 10 last 10 of the verses of Surah Kahfi. And she also mentioned, to fill your time with good deeds, like, of dhikr and awrad, so you don't waste your time, doing getting into the influences, of the zaman. I mean, that's basically that was her answer. I saw a lot of other questions يعني. Let me just see the other questions. ما نأخذ آخر سؤال، لكن هناك أسئلة كثيرة ما شاء الله. نجمع الأسئلة إن شاء الله. um, let's see. uh, تمام. The navigation of technology is coming in one of the sciences of التحولات. The one who asked about the navigation technology, right? That is one of the 5 sciences of التحولات. It will come. Right? It will come. We will be studying it. We'll be studying it. Um, uh, any a lot of statements here. No questions. You all have any questions? A lot of statements. Um, uh, تمام. any أس- أسئلة. يعني أوكي، هناك سؤال عن الاقتصاد. يعني صعب الآن في زماننا، يعني خصوصا في بلدنا، يعني أن لا ندخل في اقتصاد الزمان، يعني في البنك الربوي. يعني الآن نحن في سنغافورة أو في بلدنا، يعني صعب جدا. وحتى يعني يعني يسمى، يعني لا أدري بالعربية، ولكن يسمى التكافل. هذا تكافل، يعني أنهم يدفع يعني مبلغ يعني في البنوك، بعدين يؤمن أو الضمان مثلا، يعني إذا حدث الحوادث. تمام. Okay, so the question, she said that it is kind of very technical questions, financial questions, technical questions, right? So uh basically you have to go to the experts about the permissibility, and also the structure, because it's a very vague question, right? So what are the companies? What exactly are the plans? What exactly do they say when they say Sharia compliant? What exactly? You have to really go into the matter. You have to really go into all of these matters, before you actually commit, and you get into all of these plans, right? So she said that write down exactly what it is, because you have to be specific. We can't give an answer, right, if it's very general. Right? It has to be a specific question or specific system or specific, what exactly happens to the money and so on and so forth, right? So and what is exactly done, right? So this kind of issues are very specific, right? But at the end of the day, if you are doubtful of matters, and stay away from it. Right, stay away from it, right? And then have your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. تمام إن شاء الله نكتفي هنا إن شاء الله أستاذة.